The food service, hospitality, and retail industries are evolving in ways you've never heard of until now. Hosted by global industry technovator Rob Grimes and powered by the IFBTA, TechBytes is your go-to podcast, putting technology innovation and trends on the menu.
Well, it's going to be a busy month of March. We might call this actually March Madness. As I start to think about this, it's madness to go to Las Vegas and go to 5 or 6 events in various segments of the industries that the IFBTA is in and cover them. But one of those events, which I find very special and I had a great time, is Shoptalk, which is going to be held the 25th to the 27th at Mandalay Bay. And joining me is Rocquan Lucas, who is the Vice President of Content for Shoptalk. So welcome to TechBytes.
It's a pleasure to be here, Rob. Really looking forward to the conversation and all the exciting things that we have planned for Shop Talk Spring. Should be a very good convo.
Now, we're going to come back to that little comment that you made there that was Shop Talk Spring, which implies that there may be some others in there. But let's talk about what's coming up, because I got to tell you, I think you've been doing it, 4 years?
Yes, I've been at.
Okay, so you're 4 years, but I've only been to this one once, and I went to Grocery Talk as well. And I was amazed because I go into this room and I see all this one-to-one matchmaking going on, and I take my phone and I go like this, and that's like besides all the tech that was there, I was just mesmerized by how you're able to get people together to talk about technology.
No, for sure. That's certainly a big plus and a major component of the show is our meetup program, which is essentially like this fully scaled networking program that helps.
It's like a football field.
It does, like multiple football fields. It's super expansive, and it's an opportunity for attendees to have 15-minute meetings with others that they want to connect with at the show. And what's also great about it is that it's double opt-in, which means that both parties have agreed to connect. So there's also like this matchmaking kind of effect as well. And so that lends itself to thousands upon thousands of different meetings that are taking place across the 3 days of the show.
Well, I see that as a very unique reason for people to go. Obviously, you have all of the different types of technology suppliers that are there exhibiting. But really what draws people together besides networking is really the content. And so maybe you could just sort of share with us sort of the highlights of what somebody would expect this year, but also the differentiation points that make Shop Talk so special.
No, that's certainly a good question. I would say at the core of what Shop Talk is intended to do is really to address where the future of retail is going. That's kind of what we think long and hard about as a content team. So being one of the VPs of content, that's something that we're always, priding ourselves in is how do we deliver the right insights and takeaways for our audience so that they can go back to their respective organizations prepared to take on where retail is headed. So as we thought about kind of this year's theme and ultimately what we wanted to accomplish, we kept centering around this idea of customer centricity. Obviously, that's not a foreign term in the retail and consumer brands world, but we thought that it was a good time to kind of revisit it, given that there's just so much changing in the world and so much changing specifically within retail. So this year's show, which will feature over 200 speakers across 60 different sessions. We'll all kind of center around this idea of, what strategies can you develop? What technologies can you be thinking about to put the customer at the center of your organization?
It's funny, when you're spending your time in technology, and I've been doing this for quite a while, across multiple industries, hotel, restaurant, and retail, there's always a theme. And so what do we call this? Centralization, customer centric?
Yeah, so yes, that's right. So it's putting customers at the center. That's really what this year's show is built upon. And so there's kind of 4 pillars which we see as kind of being integral to driving that customer centricity. And so the first is around kind of customer hospitality. So we're going to be featuring a lot of different sessions on how you can build more welcoming retail experiences, whether it be in store or online. We're going to be talking a lot around kind of value, and not just necessarily from kind of a price perspective, but also how do we just deliver quality products to your consumer. And then we're also going to be talking about inspiration, which is a focus on the earlier parts of the shopping journey, and how do you kind of inspire and encourage people to try new products and to discover different items. And the very last kind of pillar, which we think is important to customer centricity these days, is related to reason for being. So how do you align your organization with the values of consumers? So that's kind of what ends up serving as the foundation for which the 60 plus sessions that we're going to have at the event is kind of
So let me
dedicated.
ask you this: how do you actually? I mean, do you have a brain trust there that you're coming up with this, or how do you connect and make sure that the subjects that you're bringing forward are the ones the industry actually? Well, sometimes the industry doesn't know what it doesn't know because you're trying to say go to the future. So how do you come up with that?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think that what's super important about kind of what we do on a day in and day out basis is obviously research driven. So we take a lot of time just making sure that we fully understand the landscape and what is top of mind for retailers and consumer brands. And so, in addition to doing some research on our own, we're also chatting and having conversations with folks in the community to understand kind of what is challenging them most, and getting, in a lot of instances, their predictions on where the future might be
But
headed.
the interesting thing for you guys is your community includes multiple areas of retail like grocery and shop talk, but also international. I mean, you have the opportunity also to see what the trends are, what people are thinking about, in several different places.
Yeah, that's correct. And so while Talk Spring tends to be a show that leans maybe towards the U.S. audience, we obviously have our Shop Talk Europe event and Shop Talk Fall, which we do obviously in the fall, which is catered to a bit more of a global audience. And so we leverage all of those different resources to get a feel for what's happening around the world, and being able to deliver that to an audience here in the U.S. in Vegas.
It's interesting because when you talk about the theme, and I always tell people, and this is the first time I'm having the conversation before I go visit this, but when I do my post, review of some of the events I went to, for instance, I went to a food service equipment one this week, you know, I always know what the theme is or what is hot in the industry by either reading the signage above the aisles, or I look at the big signage in the booths. And like, for instance, and I just hate to talk about it, but I didn't see a single booth at the equipment show that said AI on it. None. Zero. Now, okay, that's a food service equipment, it's ovens, okay, but they're smart ovens, but they still didn't say it, right? And even when I go to some of the other tech shows in hospitality or food service, I'm starting to see that less and less because I think people make the assumption. So I've been asking people, what are the key words? And I think that uh, uh, that the way that you're viewing being customer centric and those 5 pillars. So the keywords that people have told me for this year in my side of the business has been frictionless, meaning the experience to make it frictionless for the employees and for the people, and of course e-commerce, and in shopping is so big. And then the other side of it was personalization. And so really we're hitting on the same thing. Now, of course, deja vu moment for me, personalization, I can think about one-to-one marketing and all those other things that they used to talk about. But it sounds like you're taking that and putting that in the experience as well. But with so much e-commerce going on, to be able to apply that on the e-commerce side, that's got to be a real challenge because you start to lose your what was it you were saying? You were saying the hospitality. I don't
Right.
know how you provide hospitality online, but there must be a way.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what you hit on is kind of definitely something that a lot of folks in the industry are thinking about as well. And as I think about what creates a hospitable or welcoming environment online, I think AI and personalization is key to that. So we're seeing a lot of different retailers and brands and invest in AI in order to help with their search experience, understanding that. More and more consumers are being comfortable with having almost a conversation style search experience. So they want to be able to say, "Hi, I'm looking, trying to make dinner tonight, and I need X, Y, and Z items to make tacos. Can you help me?" Versus just putting
Hey,
in
that's a great
a
example
traditional
talking
search
to,
term.
TechBytes here, right, in the
Yeah.
IVTA. But that actually starts to point out the crossover and integration between food service and retail, which I'm seeing a lot of that. A lot of mainstream retailers, not C stores, but a lot of mainstream retailers are putting food service in. Tommy Bahama, I mean, people like that are doing it. But then, of course, the C store industry. So, am I going to see a bunch of intersections between food service and retail this year
Yeah,
in
yeah, I
the
think that's
sessions content?
something that's pretty possible. Yeah, we definitely could see a world where there's a lot of integrations. I would say kind of like on the reverse end as well, where we're seeing a lot of QSR folks kind of dip their toes into building out CPG organizations as well. So
Absolutely.
that's certainly things are trending in that way as well. So
Here comes your grocery side of this, right? What goes on the shelf?
yeah,
No, I
for
get
sure.
that, because look at how many brands are doing the CPG. They also somewhere meet in the middle sometimes with vending, because they're able to do vending, and we see retail vending, we see food vending, and things like going on. So if we talk about the subjects, so did how many speakers did you say you had? Was it 200?
Over 200. That's
Oh
right.
my
Yeah.
gosh! I mean, talk about herding cats. I mean, that must be like the biggest thing out there to do that. So you're selecting subjects and speakers. Are there some really big highlights that you're excited about, or you think the audience is just going to come away and go, "Wow"? Are you able to share them now?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there are so many different kind of different sessions and speakers that I'm excited about. We're going to have the CEO of Gap, CEO of Levi Strauss participating. But one particular keynote that I'm really excited about is that we're going to have Shark Tank investor and Shark Kevin O'Leary is going to be taking our stage and speaking on the main stage, and he's going to be joined by a couple of companies and emerging brands that he's invested in. And so one of them is Folicious, which is almost a alternative solution for ramen, and Boost Oxygen is the other, and they offer kind of a canister that's filled with oxygen that can
Which, of
help with.
course, in Vegas, when
Oh,
you're walking around Mandalay Bay, you're going to see the
yeah, you
oxygen
might need
bar,
to
right? And then
use
I'm
one of
sure there's
those.
a lot of ramen that's probably there. And by the way, Damon, who's also he's going to be at another conference 2 weeks earlier that I have to go to in Restaurant Tech.
Wow,
But I
yeah. So
think the
you're gonna
Shark
you.
Tank guys, the interesting thing about that is they do invest in a lot of retail. And even when you consider about QVC and things like that are out there, they are sometimes getting to see some of the early stage, and people have some bright new ideas. So is that what we're going to see on the stage when he presents? He's going to be presented what he invested in, but
Yeah,
are there other ideas there?
yeah, yeah. So he's going to be talking a little bit about kind of his investment strategy and thoughts for investing in those two companies, and then talking about just in the perspective that Folicious and Boost Oxygen will provide is just how do you grow new and emerging brands, and how do you resonate with consumers these days, given that their attention is incredibly fragmented, and
That's true.
consumers are kind of consuming content across various different channels. And so they'll talk a little bit about what their plans are for growth, and how do you resonate with the shopper today.
So what's your recommendation to somebody who wants to come visit the show? Maybe they've been, if let's say they haven't been there before, okay? Because obviously I'd love to see more food service people going, or hospitality people going. They all have retail. So what's your advice to somebody how to plan ahead and schedule what they want to hear, and the learning and the networking, and really getting the most out of it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so the common answer that I would always provide to a question like this is definitely leveraging our app. It has a ton of different resources and will allow our attendees the opportunity to scan through the agenda and select the sessions that they deem the most relevant and what they're most interested in. And so when you kind of compound attending sessions that you think are going to help you with your day in and day out duties and help you prepare for what the future holds. When you compound that with also participating in our meetup program so that you are able to facilitate and get all of the connections that you're seeking from the event. And by just participating in the different networking
But it's
events as
extremely
well.
difficult to do all that in a single day, as I've learned.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Which is, the reason why we have it Shop Talk as a 3 day show, so that you can kind of spread it out across those 3 days. But we know that it can be kind of a jam packed agenda for
And it's
folks, and so
daunting because it's in a
yeah.
lot of different space and the sessions that are there. So I know it's not all about, I know you're about the content. I know there's the floor. And I think almost every, technology vendor that has anything to do with tech in this space is there. Um, but what about networking? Not the one to one, but, just things that bring people together. Because I'm finding a lot of people are going back to shows or going back because they want to meet up with people and learn new things. So what else surrounds the show?
Yeah, for sure. So on each day, we're always thinking about different ways in which we can allow different ways for people to connect with each other. And so obviously the big one that sticks out to us, or me, I should say, is our official beach party that we host on the second day of the show, where we'll have the musical act Little John joining us. So that's always a fun time, and it allows for people to uh, have conversations and to meet folks that are at the show. And then additionally, we'll also host different dinners and events for specific communities. So we have our retailers and brands dinners that we host, and other ones as well.
So what was it? Did you say retail? What was the a specific event that you just said that you had? You said by like groups. So
Yeah,
how is
so
that?
we yeah, so we like to think about different communities that are at the event, and different ways that we can serve their needs. And so a big core part of our audience at Shop Talk is retailers and brands. And so we do host different dinners to accommodate that audience. And so that's typically invite only, but it allows for retailers and brands to talk with their peers and to have different conversations with them. Um,
Do trade associations fall in there?
so it would be exclusively to the retailers and consumer
I
brands
could sell a
themselves.
hat. I mean, I could probably come up with some shirts or a hat. Well, look, I got a logoed vest. I mean, I could maybe put this on sale. Then I'm a retailer, right?
Yeah, talk to me at the show. We can see
All
what
right,
we
we'll
can
have to
do.
figure that one out.
But
Well, there are a lot of opportunities, but some of the most fun that I find is actually going up an escalator and being behind somebody. You just start a conversation. You find out where they're at, where they're coming from. So, how many attendees do we have?
yeah. So Shop Talk Spring will have about 10,000 attendees. So the event continues to scale. An event that started with just a few thousand folks in during its first iteration has since scaled to a 10,000 plus person event.
Well, this is not a new event, and so this has been around for how many years?
For 9 years now, Rob. Yeah, so
You
it
got a
started.
10-year anniversary coming up.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, this year, but in 2026, I'm sure we'll make that a special moment. Yeah, with the DNA of Shop Talk just being all about innovation, and at the time the company was founded, we really were at the cusp of digital transformation in retail, and so that's certainly carried over into the
And
nine
that's and
years of
that's
history of
right.
the
And we
show.
did talk about big data and we talked about some of the things that are there, but digital transformation, there was really a change from we've collected all this data to what to do with it. So I suppose in 9 years, almost 10 years, people are expecting more and more. There's more and more data. So we will not only look to see what happens this year in year 9, but also take a look and see what happens next year when you hit the 10-year birthday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So you have a career, because I was looking you up on LinkedIn, and you have a career, that you've been around the industry from different views over the years. Is there something that you just didn't expect, or something that even surprises you, like in the last couple of years that came up? Because there's always that thing you didn't expect to see, or something you didn't expect. Is there something that, really gets you excited about it?
Yeah, yeah. So, in regards to retail specifically, I think I'm really excited around kind of what the future holds for retail media. It's a concept that has been all of the rage, or has been a lot of tension has been around this topic over the past couple of years. And it's just interesting to see retailers in a situation where they are, in a lot of ways, media companies themselves, and where they partner with their suppliers, whether they be in food and beverage or whether they be other
Are we
brands.
talking about advertising,
Yeah,
or what are we talking about here?
yeah, so the way that retailers are connecting with their brands to allow these brands and advertisers to advertise and do marketing on whether it's the retailer's website, or leveraging the data that the retailer has to be able to conduct advertising and marketing through connected TV
Well,
or even in
there is
store.
so much data available today,
Yeah.
and there's so many sources, and then there's even those sources you never thought about that can do that little nuance, that of information to help you to target better,
Yeah.
for the customers.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason why we're excited about kind of a piece of the content that I didn't mention just yet, which we're calling the new market, which is essentially a show within a show that's dedicated to exploring what the future of media and marketing is going to look like, especially as now retailers enter the fold, and
So, what is that, an
social media companies as
experiential
well.
piece, or what is that?
Yeah.
Are
So
you able
it's
to tell us, or are you
yes.
going to tell me they got to show up to find out?
No, no, won't tell you. You have to show up to find out. It
I'm
is.
going to show up.
That's great. That's great. But yeah, it's essentially a show within a show. It's its own stage with an elevated experience that is dedicated to addressing what we're seeing, as I mentioned before, consumers' attention being so fragmented these days, and highlighting the ways in which media, marketing, publishers, retailers are all coming together to serve and deliver the right shopping experiences and to meet consumers these days. And so the types of content that you would see on this session would be exploring what the future of retail media holds, but also exploring how different brands are telling their stories in which platforms they're using to tell those stories on. So whether they are partnering up with companies like Roblox to offer a more immersive gaming style experience, or whether they're partnering up with influencers and content creators in order to get their
The answer is
message and
yes.
brand out there. Just highlighting what that new market looks like and how you engage with consumers today is something that we're leaning into as a part of the new market.
Well, it really is a new world with new opportunities and new ways to do it. And by the way, not all of them cost you a fortune to do either, as we see. You also manage uh, the grocery side as well.
Yeah.
So I was sort of curious about that. The grocery event, I think, is in the fall, right?
Yes, that's correct. So Grocery Shop will take place September 28th through October 1st this year. So it'll be a 4-day event. And we're really excited about putting that together
And
as
that's in
well.
Vegas as well.
Yep, that's correct. Yes, in Las Vegas, and dedicated to grocery and CPG, where we highlight the innovation and the future of grocery.
And then, so since you do both, are there things that are the same, or are there things that are marked differences between the two?
Yeah, so there are definitely some similarities across the show. There's a an audience of CPG companies and grocery that retailers that would definitely attend Shop Talk Spring. But we like to think that grocery shop is where we get really kind of tactical and a bit more in the weeds to cover that category with more specificity, if you will. And so we'll see large teams from different retailers, grocery retailers, and CPGs around the world come and join us at Grocery Shop.
Well, look, it's coming right up. And it's March 25th to 27th at Mandalay Bay. It is a great event. I got to go last year, and I'm looking forward to going again this year and hearing the conversations, which is as much as everything else. It's good to see the suppliers, and I like looking at the visitors, but it's really those conversations that take place on the floor and take place at some of the events, and then also the unique speakers,
Mm-hmm.
that are really sharing sort of their knowledge. And with 200 of them, there must be an awful lot of unique speakers in there and subjects that people want to hear. So is there anything else that we have missed that we want to make sure that we cover so people can think about attending and then plan their visit?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. I just think that we like to think that Shop Talk Spring is really kind of this great place where you're able to fuse and bring together those learnings and insights that you're going to get from the content that's taking place on the stage, the connections and interactions that you're going to have as you walk the show floor and take part in meetup, and that fun element as well, where you're able to just be a part of different.
And we shouldn't forget that some of the best shopping in the world is actually in Las Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, what a great place to go. Well, it's been a pleasure. Rocquan Lucas, who's the VP of Content at Shop Talk. And again, it's the 25th to the 27th at Mandalay Bay. The IFBTA will be there covering and taking a look at both how retail and food service intersect, but also what we can learn from retail, because we're always trading with those peripheral industries, that we work around. And I'm going to look forward to continuing this conversation with you on the floor at Shop Talk.
Yeah, so will I, Rob. Pleasure chatting with you.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us on TechBytes, and we'll see you in just a few weeks. Again, March 25th to 27th, Mandalay Bay Shop Talk in Las Vegas. Thank you. This podcast is brought to you by the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. The IFBTA is the industry's voice of food service, hospitality, and retail technology, providing thought leadership as your single, impartial, and go-to resource. The IFBTA offers in-person and online communities to connect with your peers, the exchange, an all-encompassing global technology resource, and an industry-wide professional education and certification program. The bottom line is the IFBTA is your place to gather, learn, and share in conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of TechBytes, powered by the IFBTA. I'm Rob Grimes, your host, and I look forward to taking our next bite of technology together.